Hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to CentreCourt, our MBA admissions fair. Today, we're going to talk about career management, and specifically career management in Europe at 3 of Europe's greatest schools. We have in the house INSEAD, ESMT Berlin, and Rotterdam School of Management. Let me introduce each of our panelists, and then we'll get on with our discussion. We have Zep Floret, the Associate Director of Employer Relations, Employer Engagement at INSEAD, which obviously is the big player in Europe with over 1,000 graduates every single year. And I can only imagine that this is one of the more difficult jobs in all of the world because of the diversity from so many different countries that students come and then get placed in from INSEAD. From ESMT, we have Marcel Callis, the Director of Career Services. And from Rotterdam, we have Jeff Elmans, the Director of the RSM Career Center. Welcome. It's great to see the 3 of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Before we get into like the real nitty gritty of, where your students go to work and kind of like the placement rates and starting salaries and all that, I want to basically begin with something that's much more fundamental, and that's the careers curriculum. I've always said that the secret sauce of a business school compared to any other college or department in a university is that basically there is tremendous amounts of time and resources devoted to getting graduates jobs. That doesn't happen in other colleges and departments and universities, but it does happen in every business school where it's not only the education you receive, it's the professional development, and then ultimately being placed on the path for a great career. So that starts with really a lot of intervention by you folks with coaches, experts, seminars, receptions where the students get to explore different industries and how those jobs for early entry MBAs are played out. And I wonder, let's start with INSEAD. Like, what is your career curriculum? What's involved? How quickly do you touch the students?
Actually, we connect with the students even before they start the program because we do have a very fast-paced program. We cram 75% of the academic curriculum of a 2-year program into 1 year. So we get them as soon as we can. Once they are admitted, they have access to online platforms and online webinars, how to write their CV and cover letters. We have an AI-powered tool so that they can rank their CVs. Artificial intelligence rates them and they can improve it before they start. And then we do in-person seminars as well when they arrive. So once they arrive, actually every week for 2 months, they have workshops on how to network, how to tell your story, how to build up your company list, how to do storytelling, how to upgrade your pitching skills, interviewing skills. It's good programming for people who would like to develop their soft skills, leadership skills, and at the same time, career management skills.
And Marcel, I'm assuming you have a similar program at ESMT.
Yeah, of course. But if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, the world would have been a little bit different because nowadays we have so many MBA programs. Well, so many. We have 2 more than 2 years ago. And we also work with students with MBA students who study differently, not only full-time, which we of course still have offer in Berlin, but also we have let's say, career moments with our part-time blended MBA students and our global online MBA students, and also, but a little bit less, to be honest, with our executive MBAs. So yeah, we have programs a little bit on a different level, but we engage basically, certainly for the full-time students, yeah, straight from the start, also a little bit before, where we connect with them. and stay basically with them. I wanted to say for the rest of our lives. That's not really true, but we try to engage with them as soon as they move smoothly in a job, and then work with them as alumni, staying part of our network forever. So yeah, there is a little bit of emphasis on what kind of program you are in. If you study flexible in a global online MBA, if you study part-time MBA with residencies on campus. Maybe it comes a little bit later in the talk as well, that things are also changing and getting smoother, and I would say there might be an integration of career services activities for all those programs, but that's maybe a little bit later.
And generally, with an online MBA, and you're the only school here present with an online MBA program, I believe, many people believe that if you want to go online, it's better to not switch careers, not use it as a transition to a new field. But do you agree with that or not? Because if you don't agree with that, that means that you have a heavier lift, a bigger job helping place those students and helping with transitions.
It's not that black and white, you know. Right. If you in the full-time MBA, a lot of career changes, right? Changing industry, at least changing countries. Honestly, I also have to say, since we do the global MBA not so long, and also the part-time blended MBA, we don't run it that long. I don't have a lot of data.
Yeah, very new.
Out of fairness, but what you see is that we tend to focus on people, you know, when we, let's say, sell the global online MBA or part-time blended MBA, that it's people who want to think with their company, grow with their organization, make better decisions for their organization. But exceptions are already the rule, right? So we speak with part-time and global students who are, you know, they leave the company and they do change already. So it's not that black and white. Everyone has their own motivation to do this, to do an MBA, and yeah, life brings them maybe more unexpectedly to, you know, the choices they were not thinking to make. So it could be both. Could be definitely
true. I mean, one of the things about the MBA is that it opens a lot of doors and a lot of choices. And sometimes when you have too many choices, that can lead to problems in and of itself. I wonder how you get people on track at Rotterdam early so that they're not bewildered and overwhelmed by the many choices that they in fact have.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. It's a challenge, but we developed a program now for our students where, similar to what Zeynep said, we start already contacting with the students when they signed up, basically when they were accepted into the program, so even before they started. But what we did at RSM, it's a one-year program. It starts in January, roughly it ends in December, the academic part. We take them in small groups from the beginning of the year when they arrive on campus, and from January up to July, we have what we call backpack sessions. And in that same group, they are guided by a career coach, do peer feedback, get guided through a program up to like July. And then they have a consulting project and a short break. And then after that, from September till after graduation, if necessary, the coach which guided that group, those group sessions, those backpack sessions, is moving towards more individual support, and they have that person as their individual coach for up to graduation, and even after that when they haven't landed a job. And even what we now realize, actually, because that's what we thought, let's continue up to August. So the graduation is in March. Up to August, they can still have that individual career coaching of that same coach. We expected that would be used by students who were still job searching. Well, we now find out that also students who landed the job are in their first few months in their job are still looking for support, because they get all kinds of other choices to make. And a lot of them find jobs in new locations, often the Netherlands, but or other Western European countries. And they have all kinds of questions where they also get back to their career coach for support and advice.
Right. So it's almost a never-ending job, it sounds like to me. A lot of
And now,
hand-holding.
yeah, almost to yeah. It could be, but there is a moment where we say, hey, now you really have to find other resources. But then what the RSM Mentor Me program, where alumni can connect with other alumni, students can connect with alumni for career advice, also works very, very well.
Now, I wonder if you use tools and assessments to help students identify their career opportunities. Yep.
Now, tools to identify their career opportunities. Now, yeah, there isn't, I mean, at least we do not use a kind of survey to say, hey, you've ticked these boxes, then this is your ideal job. That we do not do. We've tried kind of those kind of things in the past. That did not really work for us. So we more like the first few months also, we have a lot of activities with companies, which we say this is to explore, find out information about different companies, about different functions before you go over to the next phase, which is apply. So that's also like the first few months up to that July, explore, and we connect the students with as many companies as possible just to explore and find out what are the opportunities.
Right.
And the opportunities I think which are suitable to me, find out whether that there is truth in it, because that company you think you want to work for, connect with that company, find out if that culture is really suitable to you. If not, there's time to change. And then from September onwards, you really need to move towards the apply mode. And that's where we help you to connect with companies next to the existing alumni network, which students can use themselves. We also help them with different tools to connect with companies.
Right. At INSEAD, do you use tools and assessments for students or not?
Totally. So I think the unique model is that we attribute an individual career coach to every single student. Before the start of the program, they have online access to do this personal evaluation to understand their career goals and personal values. The coach uses a couple of different tools: career leader, career anchors, career teams, transferable skills, and career goals workbook. So there's a whole process around this. And then once they are on campus, like Joop, similar to that, we have what we call PLDP, which is a personal leadership development program. This is in addition to what I handle at careers. It is handled by academia. There is a PhD professor faculty who helps them with group coaching, peer-to-peer feedback, and recommendations and how you behave in a group setting. So that this is in addition to the individual career coaching sessions that are unlimited. They can use it unlimited amount of time, and we keep using it after 6 months graduation, and then they bounce back to free alumni coaching again with individual coaching.
Wow, that's a lot of coaching.
Yes, this is about super helpful. I have a private coach too. I cannot be more happier.
Marcel, you have a private coach?
A private coach. I could have if I want.
Yes, but now do you use tools and assessments for your students to identify what jobs would be ideal for them?
No, I would say it's quite similar what you and Zainab mentioned. So in the past, you had those assessments like MBTI and StrengthsFinder, and I must admit that we faded a little bit away from that. I would say it's not really matching the time we are in. So students at ESMT, they all get connected to a coach, which is not just a career coach, but it's a professional coach where people can bring in more items and topics into the conversation. And I know that those coaches, for example, if necessary, they would need a certain tool. They use a certain tool to help students, I don't know, identifying, let's say, the interpersonal skills. And also it happens that in the academic courses, there are feedback sessions. People learn how to do that. There is also a consulting project at the end of the program where they have to work in a small team, helping a client on a certain topic. So there are a lot of learning moments within the academic calendar where the people can let's say improve or get more insights. One course which is not academic but we develop is, we call it the Future Ready Leadership Skills, which is basically helping students with a new leadership mindset, and also they learn how to do, let's say, peer coaching and peer consultation related to leadership issues and leadership skills, and which is we started this year, and it's really fun. It's a very insightful exercise for the students.
How have the demands of employers changed in terms of what they expect from students and their skill set? And how has your program changed to achieve that? I'm thinking in particular of things like business analytics, which have assumed far greater importance of late. I'm thinking of even more future ideas like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how that might change the business landscape in the future, and is already changing it. Marcel, how is your program shaped to deliver those skills for the employers?
It's I would say transition in progress by each year. I would say it's also a little bit depending on what program you look at, the global online MBA, the part-time MBA or the full-time MBA, but maybe let's stay with the full-time MBA. So this is basically the last year. No, let's put it differently. We changed the program. Next year, we are moving from a 1-year program to a 15-month program at ESMT. We would still start in January, but we would add a couple of optional things in the summer. That could be an internship of 12 weeks. That could be learning German for credit, or it could be being part of a social impact project. And it also means that we could intensivate the number of electives, where the courses you mentioned also come back into the program. And it brings a little bit more flexibility. It brings more options, because that's also what the market is demanding at the moment. It also brings, let's say, more time for the students to reflect and think about in which direction they want to go into the future. So that is basically what's happening at ESMT.
Yeah. What about at Rotterdam? How has the program changed to address the needs of employers?
Indeed. I mean, so topics have changed. Much more focus on analytic skills. And what you see is towards companies again, Agent and Molly, companies I had never heard of 2 years ago, I think, although they did already exist, what you now find out, but those like fintech companies have suddenly shown an interest to students and students to those companies. So that is absolutely new. Though, like I said, those are organizations I didn't know that they were there, but those companies did find us, and the students find those companies. So both skills in the program have been changed towards the needs, but also you see the connections towards companies is changing due to these new roles, jobs, and skills needed.
Right. I believe the same is true at INSEAD, right?
I think, yes, digital and analytics, but I would like to say sustainability. Like United Nations SDG, that is a huge shift that I'm seeing across sectors. So those sustainable development goals, for the ones listening to us, they can Google UN Sustainability SDGs. We call them. There are 17 goals across sectors, and we do have a center now, a Center of Excellence, Hoffman Global Business and Society, and there is an integration project of sustainability across all electives. And I was at the Dean's Forum a couple of days back. He was telling, like 10 years ago, maybe there were, some faculty doing research on this. Now 60% of the research papers are, containing sustainability in it. So I see this as a future, in addition to the decision sciences, strategy, technology management. I think this is a very, very important part of our future that we are really closely watching.
And that's driven by students as much as it's driven by employer needs, because students have great interest in the climate change, and sustainability and in the environment. And I know that at Rotterdam, you were actually organized in your MBA around those UN goals. Yeah.
Yeah, we have, and the mission of RSM is force for positive change, and every single employee, every single students knows that. So every single thing is, there's always the core question, how to be a force for positive change. How does this help me to be a force for positive change? Whether it's in the program, whether it's in the career support, we really look to, okay, what are you going to do to be a force for positive change? What's your added value? And even if companies come on board, before they come to RSM, we always ask them, hey, how are you going to enable our students to be a force for positive change? So yeah, it's ingrained in the total program. It's ingrained in the career services. Yeah, very important.
Yeah. Marcel, what do you think employers most appreciate about your graduates?
They love our graduates. So, I mean, ESMT, it's related, even if you compare us to INSEAD or even to Rotterdam, we have quite a small MBA program, right? Let's say between 50 and 60 students each year in the full-time MBA, the same number in the global online MBA, and the same number in the part-time MBA. And there is a big, despite the fact that we are small, there is a super diversity within that class. People come from everywhere. In the current full-time MBA class, we had almost 50-50 men and women, which was a super score. I would say that, I would say that the mindset or the mentality, at least that would try to engage with, is quite straightforward, down to earth, good expectation level, and offer at least the skills that the companies are looking for. We noticed that the majority, by far out in our MBA program, the students, they manage to find jobs in Berlin or even in Germany and stay within the country. They have a global mindset. They have an eye for diversity and inclusion. It's, the whole package, I would say, appeals to what companies are looking for in our students.
How would INSEAD think of that? What do employers of INSEAD grads most appreciate about your students?
I would say three things. Obviously, they love the cross-cultural awareness, similar to ESMT. We do have a very diverse classroom, but we do also have a diverse faculty, like 50 different nationalities, but also we have a campus here in France, a campus full-fledged in Singapore, another one in Abu Dhabi. We have a hub in San Francisco, and we do tracks like building businesses in Silicon Valley, in China, in India, in Israel, you name it, we are there. So that's why I think also the way it works, you have joint assignments with very different backgrounds, not just culturally, but also the mindset. And I think it's intense, like it's on purpose, right? It's crammed. So that gives you some sort of adaptation and agility. And I think that comes across as like an entrepreneurial spirit, which is one of the pillars of INSEAD. And I think that's what they like. It's not very rigid. Like those guys are very adaptable because we designed the program to test their limits at the edge of their comfort zone, if I may.
Right. Yep. And I'm assuming that Rotterdam is similar in that. Yeah. So let me ask you about your alumni network and how important it is to career development and the long-term usefulness of the degree. Let's talk about the Rotterdam Alumni Network. How broad is it? How well distributed is it? How close knit is it, would you say?
I think, but I believe that counts for all schools. I mean, and especially if you take the full-time MBA, you're so like in this pressure cooker together for such a long period. Yeah. So you really build relationships, and that lasts. But then also, if you connect with people who studied in previous years, they understand there's this feeling of like you know each other without knowing each other. So a high level of trust. extremely important in a very practical way for us to connect with people for projects, for jobs, for advice, and also for alumni and students among themselves. We have local chapters, as we call it. So all around the world, there are local chapters where alumni gather together, organize events supported by us. If our faculty or dean is traveling, we try to arrange a meeting opportunity for our alumni together with the local chapters in all kinds of major cities all around the globe. So it is extremely important. And then, of course, nowadays with all the online tools, I already mentioned RSM Mentor Me, but then also students and alumni can easily connect. So either meeting face-to-face, and we support that, or online. Yeah, I think you build relationships for the rest of your life, and it's extremely valuable, the alumni network.
Marcel, what about ESMT and its alumni network? Obviously, you have a much smaller school. It's more of a newcomer to the MBA world. What's your sense of the alumni network?
We couldn't live without them. It sounds very dramatic, but it really is like that. You know, they are so important. An example, simply because I mentioned the consulting projects the students they have to do. We are running close to 9 to be precise, projects. 8 of them, and we source them, right? We have to look for projects within companies, and 8 of the projects, there are alumni involved. You know, it's crucial. We are in the midst of, also for our the Master Study Management program and the MBA, and sometimes we do it together. We organize a range of alumni panels. So people from sustainable business, from startups, scale-ups, e-commerce, you name it, people in certain roles, and we ask alumni to come to the school or have an online session, basically to share experiences, to give students insight and career advice, and it's never a problem to fill those panels. Thank God. It's, you know, people stay and really involved. They're crucial. They're crucial for the school. They're crucial for our network, and they're also crucial for the future of many graduates.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
And at INSEAD, given the size of your network, it must be very strong, I would think. I mean, you're putting out more graduates in any given year than any other prestige MBA program in the world.
I mean, yes, it is big. I think we do have, I don't have the exact number, don't quote me on that, but more than 65,000 MBA alumni. And then we feel like, and like totally in line with Marcel was saying, we love them. And I mean, we do have an employer engagement team, which is also like sector advisors. Those are industry coaches. And every time like we want to put a panel together to share insights, it's always alumni. We have also launched a master in management program. Those are recently new alum, but the energy, the connection, the devotion, I really love it. And it's a whole different mindset also coming with the different geographies. So they launched, for example, a climate run. It's a literate run because they are younger, so they want to do this, but like we do have very different touch points, and we launched something called iLink. I think it's a differentiator because when you have such a big body of alumni, you need to facilitate the connections for mentorship. So we launched this in September 2020, and we traced this. We had like 2,800 meaningful, connections and discussions taking place since. So this is in addition to organic touch base, like you mentioned during like alumni reunions and all that, but we do have a structured process now to match alumni mentors with current students.
And I'm thinking that if one wanted to work, let's just say for Royal Dutch Shell, they can come to you and find out every single INSEAD alumni who works for Royal Dutch Shell.
Yes, and I think I'm connected with 25 of them already. I used to cover energy sector. Yes, there is a directory. This iLink is for volunteer mentors, but the directory gives access not only to MBAs, but also global MBAs. And also that we have a lot of executive education programs, 3 weeks to longer, that gives alumni status everywhere with a lot of company specific programs. So one company, if they have taken this program, they will have hundreds of alumni, because we are now ramping up our digital offers, and that cascades down. So we have many more company alumni joining in. Yes, it's pretty impressive for, if you want to connect with people, I'm pretty sure I can get somebody in Kazakhstan, somebody else in whatever. So it's really organic also, because they are really there to help. I think, like Marcel said, it is a very comforting thought that is a true community.
Right. Now, many people who are watching this from different countries all over the world. And far more than from, let's say, France, Germany, or the Netherlands. And obviously your school populations are very global and very diverse in that sense. Now in the United States, when an international applicant applies and comes, there is something called an H-1B visa that is much sought after and hard to get in many cases. But I wonder in your country, let's say I go to Germany. What are the chances that I can actually land a job in Germany if I get an MBA at ESMT Berlin, or do I have to go somewhere else once I get my degree? What does the picture look like for international students who come to ESMT for their MBA?
It's super easy. You will get a permit and permission. So no, in Germany, as long as, as soon as you are accepted at the university or business school, and you have student status, you are from outside the EU, you can stay 18 months after graduation for job search purposes. And you can even start a job straight away within those 18 months. So there is absolutely no issue with whatsoever visa. You are allowed to work, you're allowed to stay. The only thing you have to do is change your status after graduation, and we help you with that. We have a fantastic student services department. And as soon as you have changed your status, you find a job, you start working, you survive your probation period, which is 6 months mostly in Germany. And when you are safe and you feel good in that company, you apply then for a work permit and you will get it. Full stop.
That's reassuring.
Everyone welcome. Yeah.
Reassuring. Yeah. How is it in Rotterdam?
Yeah, I think it's similar to Germany. We have a 1-year search visa, which is similar to what Marcel explained. First of all, we always say, now, if you have a European work permit, of course, then for the whole of Europe, you can work in every European country. So that makes it already easier to work also in the countries around us. But for those who do not have a European Union work permit, there is, first of all, they should try, and we help them to ensure that they are that special for the company, that the company will sponsor them. And for a lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, they have those processes in place, and it is not such a big issue. But the second opportunity would be to use your 1-year search visa. And while you have that visa, in that period of time, you are allowed to work. Although it's called a search visa, within that period of time, you're allowed to have a job as well. And after that year, basically you should be convincing enough for the company that they really want to keep you, and they can then put the process in place to sponsor you and make sure that you get your work permit. So yes, it's relatively easy to get a job in the Netherlands or Western Europe.
Right. And now INSEAD, you have 2 cards to play. You have France and you have Singapore.
Yeah.
How do job prospects differ in each location?
So Actually, it's a bit different than that because I opened our website. It's called indeknow.insead.edu, and you can go and see the career changers. So, for example, when I look at the French of last cohort, 60% went abroad. So when I look at it, it's a very cross-cultural community. So they are not necessarily anchoring into the places that they study. So the top hubs remain London, Singapore, Dubai, and Spain, USA, France, Netherlands, Germany, and Brazil. So it's diverse. And there are some nations that are very entrepreneurial and they like to change. For example, our Indian community always, like more than 90% go abroad. It's the same for Canadians, Lebanese, but some, like Dutch nationalities or Singaporean or Swiss, they prefer to go back to their home countries. So, and also one thing we observe, a lot of the companies we work with, they are very cool with work visas. And Germany is one of the friendliest regions in Europe. I really like also the fact that there are a lot of scale-ups as an ecosystem there that they can tap into. It's the same with Netherlands and France. Those are, countries really open to entrepreneurs. So there are a lot of visa, schemes that people can build up their, own companies as well. But also in our case, we are rather solid on management consulting, and those companies usually sponsor work permits, those who need. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have offices everywhere. Let's face it, no doubt about it.
John, I have to make one comment, if you allow me. What I said was what I said was for the full-time students and the people who study full-time in the master in management. It's different for the people in the global online MBA program or part-time and blended MBA program. Then the rules are different. Yeah,
and that makes total sense to me because you're not necessarily in Berlin attending class all the time, right?
Yeah, I wanted to have that. Yeah.
So look at the latest graduating class. I wonder what the employment rate would have been for it and what kind of jobs your students are taking. Now at INSEAD, we know, a high percentage of people go into consulting jobs, and a good number of them are in fact sponsored because McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Accenture, Deloitte, they love to sponsor students in your program. But give us a sense of the employment rate for the last graduating class and what choices they made in the industries that they went to.
Okay, cool. So we have published our statistics so we have 2 intakes per year to complicate things. So not only it's 1 year, but
even more fun.
Yeah, so you can start either in January or you can start in September. So you have 2 programs the same calendar year. So we published the graduation statistics of December 2020 and July 2021, and we had 92% reported receiving at least 1 job offer after 3 months after graduation date. And when I look at it, yes, it is true. What we call MBB, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, the top recruiters of INSEAD for the last 3 decades, at least I know, they were strong again, but we had nearly 20% that joined tech companies, which is a relatively new trend we see, a lot of e-commerce. But also, like Joop mentioned, fintech companies are on the rise, and we have very different functions in those. And the scooped or latest numbers, not published yet, from the students that graduated in December 2021, they are looking great as well. And I mentioned the top choices, very diverse, and in line with previous years, many students have chosen to join management consulting firms and also e-commerce and information technology and scale-ups.
Right, thank you. And but Rotterdam, what's the outlook there for your last?
Yeah, so basically what we've just the measurement is from last of the class who graduated this year. We have the numbers from the end of June, which is 3 months after graduation, and it was more than 92% of the students who were looking for jobs found a job, which is a high percentage. So that was good. It's an amazing number of different companies, by the way. Like really, most of our students end up as being the only recruit in a company. There are a few exceptions, like Amazon is recruiting heavily on MBAs at all different schools. So yeah, we have some more companies who recruit more than one student, but a lot of companies actually only hire one. Sustainalytics is one of those others, which is like consulting in the financial industry, sustainability, ESG. So they also heavily recruit. So that's a very interesting new company to recruit. The outlook, nobody knows what the economy will do, what the gas price will do to companies, but currently it still looks good. Yeah, so the career fair coming up in 2 weeks was filled fairly easy, like not differently than last year. Of course, the year before, the COVID year, was a very different ball game, but that was already improved last year, and for this year it was easier, but it was like before COVID. Let's put it that way. So yeah, no, the current situation, the job market in the Netherlands, I would say Western Europe, is good.
Yep. At ESMT, your latest graduating class, what was the employment rate?
So we are talking about the students graduating last February. So we call it the MBA 2022 class. We scored 85% 3 months after graduation. We had quite a number, more than ever. We offer the students at ESMT after graduation to join a responsible leader fellowship. That means that students, it's optional, it's a choice. They can work between 4 and 6 months for an NGO or for an organization with a social impact. It's sponsored by the Friends and Förderen Verein of ESMT. That means that the students get a stipend, the travel costs are taken care of, and they work, let's say, 4 to 6 months for the good. So those people, they basically postpone their job search. This year, it's always fluctuating a little bit where people land, but technology scored the highest. It was 26%. I can see it. Also consulting this time, 20% of the students went into consulting. Some years it's different, some years it's higher or less. E-commerce also scored very high. And then we have a little bit the same pattern what Joep says. Many companies, they hire one student.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then we have all those ones, which brings a great diversity. We are actually in the midst of organizing 2 events. We have a career fair always the end of January, so we are preparing already. First, what we have coming up is in November, we call it an Mba Challenge Forum, which is exclusively for companies and MBA students, so not for the master students. And this is also the first time we are going to involve the global MBA students and the part-time and blended MBA students to take part in this event. And it's filling up with companies, but we are in the midst of it. It's a little bit too early to say.
So, but from the early indications, it seems pretty positive. I mean, even given all the uncertainty. I mean, we have the war in Ukraine, have high inflation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of concern over a coming recession. And yet you're getting employers, you're saying it's pretty easy to get them. What's the outlook at INSEAD? How do you see this market in the next year or so?
I mean, maybe you are all familiar with the term VUCA world. That was like coined like a decade ago. It's like volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's an American Army term to train the soldiers' mindsets. But I think this VUCA world is here to continue. I feel like it's the new norm. So what I see happening is maybe they do not have crazy scaling up and growth projects, but when you have a job that needs qualified people as future leaders, you cannot stop hiring. The companies who have done that during COVID, they paid it really badly, or they fired people and now they cannot fill in those positions. So this is a sustainability game in a sense of talent retention as well. So they know it, we know it, and we educate our talent partners and our students. So when you have a high quality talent, I think opportunities are out there.
I also think people are better off with an MBA than not, regardless of what the economic climate might be, for all the reasons we talked about. You have dedicated staff and coaches to guide people. You have alumni networks that reveal opportunities that wouldn't be open to most people because they would never see them. You have people working on your behalf to land the job that you want. And that's a unique position to be in. And I think that's what an MBA from all of your schools gives people. It gives people insurance when most people don't have a whole lot of insurance. So I want to thank all three of you for joining me today. I had a great discussion. I really appreciate it. And for everyone out there, you know, check out the websites. The websites at all three schools are excellent, provides a lot of information, not only about how to get in, but employment reports on where students go. And the employment reports tend to be pretty thorough and actually fascinating reading. And I have to say, I'll give a shout out to INSEAD. I know you put a lot of people out there, but your employment reports are excellent in terms of people who do things that we call the triple jump, which I love that stat. For people who don't know what a triple jump is, that is for an MBA graduate who changes their discipline, their industry, and their geography all in one move, which is possible with an MBA, which is almost impossible to do anywhere else. And you have really very cool stats in there, and I enjoy reading them. So thank you so much again for joining us.